There was a strange gap in the IPL when Mumbai had not quite assembled and Chennai were banned. Kolkata's reign was over. Of all the teams to rise up, it was, well, the Sunrisers. A peculiar side with an Indian bowling core and a top three made of granite. They were solid rather than spectacular, kind of like a high street bank. Between 2016 and 2018, the Sunrisers though were an incredible team. Somehow in those 3 seasons they only won a single title, but they had 3 straight winning seasons. There have been more dominant teams, but their talent seemed to come from the fact that they were just so consistent. They were in almost every game, and they weren't from one of the big cities, and nor were they an original IPL team. Compared to Mumbai or Chennai, there was barely a flare-up. Even Kolkata managed more than one title. But the Sunrisers were perpetual winners, and had they found a way to dismiss Shane Watson, they might have picked up 2 titles in those 3 years. Around the world in T20, other teams and coaches regarded them as the kind of side they wanted to emulate. And however good they once were, Chennai and Mumbai have since dethroned them from the top, but they did keep on winning even after 2018, even if their best was well behind them. This year, that era seems to be, well, broken. They are 1-8, and no team has fewer than 5 wins in a season since 2017. The Sunrisers would have to go 4-1 to even get there. The lowest win seasons in the IPL are 2 by the Deccan Chargers in 2008, go, and Delhi Capitals, or Delhi Marvel TV franchise, or whatever they were in 2014. The Sunrisers might still win a couple more games. But this is a huge dip for a team that has been so good for so long. They are only the 3rd side in IPL history to make the top 4 in 5 consecutive seasons. They were consistent title hopes. Even this year people thought they might make the final. And now they are, probably by some distance, the worst team in the league. And they haven't even had the sort of injury problems that, Rajasthan Royals have had. Let's start by looking at why they were so good. It started with their top 3. In their best years of 16 to 18, their top 3 made more than 50% of their runs, which is amazing considering in this period, Warner and Williamson only played around 65% of their matches. Let's just start with Warner because he was a machine in this era. He somehow managed to average nearly 60 while striking at basically 1.5 runs a ball. That should be impossible or illegal, or both. All the Sunrisers had to do at this point was find 10 bodies to put at the other end. Warner averaged 48 runs per innings. And what I mean is not his average, I mean he made 48 runs per innings. That's how much he was worth to the team. The pass score at that point was 166, so he was making 29% of their runs when he played. Just under a third of their batting lineup on his own. And of course he did it very quick as well. He had the team's highest strike rate for anyone over 150 runs. He was playing as an anchor, but was using the anchor like a weapon? And there is a reason he missed so many games. When the Sunrisers were runners-up in 2018, Warner was out of the side for sandpaper-related offences. And even without him, the Sunrisers made the final. What might they have done if they had him in their lineup? When Warner entered the IPL, he was just a good player. He wasn't even that special. He spent his early years at Delhi and he didn't do anything that remarkable. And from the minute he got to the Sunrisers, he changed completely. In fact, Warner was good before the Sunrisers were, and he kept it up for a very long time. He was the rock that they built their team around. This is him in the 6 seasons from 2014 to 2019. Obviously, he missed 2018 in that period, and you could argue that ABDV was better than him in this era. But Warner was so dependable that it allowed an entire franchise to be built around his bat. With him, it was just so hard for the Sunrisers to be dismissed cheap. But let's look at Warner's opening partner, Shikhar Dhawan. His strike rate is slower, but he's still got a top-level average. My guess is his strike rate was not by accident. Since leaving the Sunrisers, he's become a completely different player. But not only did Dhawan have a good average, he was remarkably consistent from year to year. It was like he was pre-programmed to give them an average of around 38. Dhawan scoring the amount of runs he did made it even harder still for anyone to roll the Sunrisers easily. And the third of this group was Kane Williamson, almost like a hybrid of Dhawan and Warner. He was averaging well over 40 and striking at nearly 140. What's weirder about Williamson is that in their title year, he really struggled. And at that point, it wasn't clear he was going to get a long run in the IPL at all. But when he came good, he became the 3rd star of this top 3. And once he joined in, things got real. Let me show you this way. In this period, Sunrisers averaged 163 runs per innings. So if they all played in the same game, you'd expect them to provide 71% of the runs. That is not a top order. That is a three-headed monster. Every single game their bowlers had a chance of winning because they were always in the contest. And so I looked up all teams with over 3,000 runs in this period to see where they ranked for runs per wicket. They're second, behind an incredible Indian lineup, and this makes sense because their top three was that good. But let's talk about their bowling, because their bowling was so good that they actually bowled first in a lot of games, completely against what T20 cricket tells you to do. And it made it even better because it meant that other teams would actually send them in to bat first, which is more or less what they seem to want. So let's go back to 2016 when they had Mustafizur Rahman, who had the best death bowling season that has ever been delivered. I've made an entire video on this if you need more proof. But how about this? He had the lowest economy in the league despite being a death bowler. So that's a hell of a thing to have. But they also had Bhuvi Kumar, who took just an absolute bunch of wickets. And let's just focus on the power play. These are the best bowlers up front of 2016. And only one went at less than 5 runs and over, and that was the Fizz, because obviously he did. And 2 more went at under 6 runs and over, and one of those is Bhuvi. And they also both took a lot of wickets. Bhuvi and Fizz sounds like an action movie I would definitely watch. So the Surnisers were batting first more than anyone else was, and always making a decent total, and they would send in their best bowlers to destroy you at the top. And if you somehow got to the death, the Fizz was there to end your chances. But that was only for 2016. And that's when the Fizz did his shoulder, and it's really taken him almost 5 years to get back to anywhere near as good. And yet somehow the Surnisers replaced the most surprising great T20 bowler of his era with another surprisingly great T20 bowler. Bhuvi continued to be one of the best bowlers in the league at this time, which is great, that's awesome. But look at what Rashid Khan has done. He has the 3rd best average, which is amazing. But look at this stupid economy. They had the best death bowler for a season, he hurt his shoulder, and they upgraded to the best modern T20 bowler. This meant that they could continue to play the same game plan. Bat first, make a reasonable total, and then let your bowlers dominate. But it wasn't just the star bowlers, it was kind of everyone. Outside of Moses Enriquez and Bipul Sharma, almost all of them took wickets. This is a remarkably good share of wickets across your bowlers, especially with 2 greats in the attack. And this is all the high usage Indian bowlers in the IPL for each team from 16 to 18. The Surnisers had 5 good bowlers in here. That's an outstanding haul. Local bowling is often the way to win consistently in T20. And this is just an awesome collection of local bowlers. No one has a high average. Only Shran goes for something worryingly high in economy. This is another great thing to depend on. Essentially, they built 3 banks. One with the top 3, one with an overseas gun bowler, and then another one that had a platoon of local talent. That meant for those 3 years, and really more the last 5, they've just been so consistently good. They always make runs, they always take wickets. They might never have incredible all-rounders, they've had a consistently weak middle order, and they really haven't had much Indian batting talent. But they have runs and wickets. This year the bank is broken, and you might think it started when Shikhar Dhawan requested a trade in 2019. But Manish Pandey has filled his spot in the top 3. His strike rate is slow, but Dhawan's was never amazing. And Williamson was also replaced by Bairstow, and he matched his consistency with a bat and added wicket keeping for flexibility. This year, Bairstow has been really good, but he's not left England for the second half of the tournament. The problem has been the other batters. Pandey and Williamson have made runs, but at comically slow run rates. Warner has not made runs, run himself out a lot, and done all of it at slower rate than the other 2. Their top order went from the front of the class to the back. So let's just start with the obvious. Rashid Khan is still great, so that's certainly not an issue. If anyone was a lock in T20, it's him. But at the other end, it's been a problem. Holder has done well from only 3 games, and everyone else is average or perhaps slightly worse. And this is a problem. This was, again, another real strength of this team, and suddenly that platoon has disappeared. Of course, there's a bigger issue here. A really, really big issue. Bhuvi has been an incredible bowler year after year in the IPL. He is already an IPL great, even if he decides tomorrow to open up a new Shake Shack in downtown Dubai. He has never gone for more than 8 runs and over in an IPL season, and never averaged more than 40. In fact, even when teams started blocking him out for a while because there was no other option against him, he was still going like that. And then there's this year, and he's been injured at times, but regardless of that, this has just been horrible from him. These are the 3 players that Surnisers built an incredible 5 years on, and every single one of them has been awful this year. Williamson had 1 great innings, Bhuvi is battling his body, and Warner has already been dropped once. What are the odds that all 3 would have had shockingly bad seasons at the same time? They're all over 30, but only Warner is old enough that you're worried about him being on the decline. Boovie was unplayable this year against England. Kane Williamson was great in the World Test Championship, and even Warner made 100 in his last game before the IPL started. And then this, it's like the bank left the alarm off and the vault unlocked. I mean, it is very fair to say that they've had some bad luck for 3 of their best performers to lose form, and also with Bairstow not coming back for the second part of the season. But they also never really fixed their problems of weak Indian batting and a lack of all-rounder and a soft middle order. They just kept making withdrawals from their bankers until one day their savings were depleted. And the sad thing is, after 5 years, this year is so bad that there's probably no way they're not just going to rip this team apart and start again. They're going to have one of the worst records ever. And with a mega auction to come, one way or another, this era of Sunrisers cricket is most probably over.